Have you ever noticed that your favorite meal, the one that tastes like absolute perfection at your local restaurant, suddenly tastes like wet cardboard the moment you're cruising at 35,000 feet? There is actually a scientific reason why your senses of taste and smell basically go on vacation the second you board a plane. Today, we are looking at the strange phenomenon of why your taste buds go numb in the sky.
Food tastes bland on a plane because the cabin holds thinner, drier air than at sea level, and that dryness blunts your sense of smell. Combined with very dry air and loud engine noise, studies have found your sensitivity to sweet and salty flavors can drop by around 30%. Since most of what we call flavor is actually smell, a dried-out nose makes meals taste noticeably flatter, which is why airlines over-season cabin food. You order the chicken, take a bite, and it tastes like not much. The same dish would be perfectly seasoned on the ground, yet at 35,000 feet, it falls flat. You're not imagining it, and the airline kitchen isn't necessarily to blame. The culprit is the cabin itself. A mix of low-pressure, bone-dry air and constant engine roar quietly rewires your sense of taste mid-flight. Food tastes flat in the air because the cabin environment dulls two of your senses at once. At cruising altitude, the cabin is pressurized to thinner, drier air than at sea level, commonly around a 6,000, 8,000 foot equivalent, though it varies by aircraft. That low pressure, the very dry air, and the constant engine noise together blunt how strongly you perceive sweet and salty flavors. Three things gang up on your taste buds at once. 1. Low cabin pressure. The cabin is pressurized to thinner air than you'd breathe at sea level, and your taste receptors respond differently in it. 2. Very dry air. Reputable studies put cruise humidity at roughly 20% or below, far drier than most places on the ground. That dryness dries out your nose and mouth. 3. Constant engine noise. The steady drone at cruise measurably suppresses certain tastes. Put together, these conditions can cut your sensitivity to sweet and salty taste by around 30%, according to the studies that have measured it. So the food isn't necessarily under-seasoned. Your equipment for tasting it has simply been turned down.
Dry air is the quiet villain here, because most of what we call flavor is actually smell. Aroma molecules travel up the back of your throat to your nose, and that's where the real richness of a dish registers. Reputable studies put cruise cabin humidity at roughly 20% or below, far lower than almost anywhere on the ground. And that dryness blunts your sense of smell. When your nasal passages dry out, aroma simply doesn't reach you as strongly. Food that should smell of garam masala or roasted chicken arrives muted, so it tastes muted too. This compounds the dulling of sweet and salty taste, giving you a double hit: weaker smell and weaker taste. Cabin noise on a jetliner at cruise is around 85 decibels, roughly as loud as heavy city traffic, though it varies by aircraft type and how close you sit to the engines. That figure matters because it's the exact noise level used in a landmark taste experiment. Sit near the back, over the wings or close to the engines, and you'll be on the louder end of that range. A 2015 Cornell University study by Robin Dando and Kimberly Yan, published in the Journal of Experimental Psychology,
human perception and performance, tested taste at loud cabin noise levels. They found that sweet taste is suppressed, while umami, the savoury, brothy taste, is significantly enhanced. That single finding explains a lot about why some dishes survive the flight and others don't.
So it isn't just dryness and pressure. The noise itself is actively reshaping your palate, pushing down the sweet and pushing up the savoury. A dessert tastes less sweet, a savoury. Usually the opposite. Because taste is dulled at altitude, airlines deliberately add extra salt, acidity, spice, and umami-rich ingredients to compensate. A dish that seems over-seasoned on the ground often tastes balanced in the air. The food isn't bland by mistake. Your ability to taste it has been turned down by the cabin. Because taste is dulled at altitude, airlines deliberately design menus for the cabin rather than the kitchen. The standard fix is to lean on extra salt, acidity, spice, and umami-rich ingredients to compensate for the senses the cabin switches off. A dish that seems slightly over-seasoned on the ground often tastes just right at 35,000 feet. This is why chefs building in-flight menus reach for bold, savoury, acidic flavours. Sweet and delicate dishes lose the most at altitude, so they get reworked or dialed up. The goal is a meal that still reads as flavourful once the cabin has quietly turned down your sweet and salty perception by around 30%. It also explains a quiet advantage for Indian food. We found that spice-forward Indian cooking, naturally rich in umami, acidity, and aroma, think tomato-based curries, rajma, tamarind, and masala-heavy dishes, tends to stand up to the dulled-taste cabin environment far better than a plain sandwich. The strong aromatics and savoury depth are exactly what survives A dry, noisy cabin. It can help indirectly. The dry, low-pressure cabin dries out your nose and mouth, which weakens smell and taste, and it's the same physiology behind mild in-flight dehydration. Staying hydrated keeps your nasal passages from drying out further, so aromas register a little more strongly. It won't fully restore taste, but it stops things getting worse. Since the cabin works against sweet and salty flavours, your best move is to order with the science in mind. Savoury, umami-rich and spice-forward choices simply taste better up there, while delicate or sweet dishes lose the most. A brothy soup, a tomato-based curry, or a well-spiced rice dish will read as far more flavourful than a plain sandwich or a subtle dessert. A few practical habits help too. Stay hydrated. Dry cabin air dries out your nose and mouth, so sipping water through the flight keeps your sense of smell from fading further. Pick savoury over sweet. Umami holds up. Sweetness gets suppressed. Tomato juice over cola. Curry over cake. Pre-book a special meal. If your airline offers it, a meal you actually enjoy beats a generic tray.